want to make sure that we are good to go. I was told to share the live. I was told to share the live on and Caprice's page as well. So I'm going
Okay.
to do that. So listeners, please bear with me for 1 second so that I can ensure that this live is also sent where it's supposed to go. Bear with me for 1 second. All right. Almost there. There you go. We're good to go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Your Lane, episode 5, part 2. We have with me today Dr. Alisa Muniz Crim. And Dr. Crim, thank you so much for joining us. We heard about the situation that took place yesterday. I'm so glad that you made it back home and landed safely. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I want to get straight into it. First of all, if you don't mind, I'm gonna just let the audience know who you are. Dr. Alisa Muniz Crim is employed at the Nicholas Children's Hospital in Miami, Florida. She's a pediatric specialist chief for the section of pediatric gastroenterology, the medical director of the Inflammatory Bowel Disease Center at Nicholas Children's Hospital, and serves on Nicholas Children's Pediatric Specialist Board of Directors. Dr. Crim earned her medical degree from the Georgetown University School of Medicine in Washington, D.C. She then completed a residency in pediatrics at Tufts Medical Center, Floating Hospital for Children in Boston, Massachusetts, followed by a fellowship in pediatric gastroenterology and nutrition at Harvard Medical School, Mass General Hospital for Children. Dr. Crim also pursued a master's degree in clinical research at the Institute of Clinical Research and Health Policy Studies at Tufts University in Boston and served as an assistant professor of pediatrics at Harvard Medical School. Her clinical interests include inflammatory bowel disease, celiac disease, feeding disorders, gastrointestinal dysmotility, and caring for children with special needs and their families. Welcome, because there's so much more. I had a whole list of things, and I'm like, you know what? No, because of time, we know you're a specialist, especially when it comes to children and their digestive health, and we just welcome you today. Dr. Crim, can we get straight into it? Yesterday we spoke about Crohn's disease and encopresis. So let's start with encopresis. Can you tell me a bit about this? Is it a disease? Is it a bowel disorder? What exactly is it?
I think I would classify it mostly as a bowel disorder.
Mm-hmm.
We see very many different things in gastroenterology, but probably one of the most common things that we see is chronic constipation in children. And it happens in up to a third of all children will get constipated, right? And it has a lot to do with a lot of different things, right? When you're very young, particularly when children are transitioning into toilet training, sometimes there's a fear component or they have some sort of negative experience where, they go to the bathroom and it's not a very comfortable feeling. And so they start to do what's called stool withholding. And so they will not go to the bathroom. And as they go more and more time without going to the bathroom effectively, then they start having larger and larger stools. And that's when encopresis happens. Encopresis happens when you get what basically is leakage around hard stools that are retained when children are not able to go to the bathroom effectively.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What is your take on giving laxatives to kids who may have issues with constipation?
Yeah, I think it's really important, right? I mean, the fix is not just one thing alone, right? It involves improving fiber intake, right? So changing diet, improving water intake, making sure children are getting plenty of exercise. But yes, I mean, generally speaking, when you get to the point where you have encopresis, we use a combination of something to soften the stool
Mhm.
and then something like a laxative to help you go to the bathroom. So our usual picks are Miralax combined with X-Lax or Senna. Those tend to be the kind of the two things that we use together.
Listen to me. Miralax did not work. It did not work for my two kids, in particular. But the X-Lax did a really
Mhm.
good job. And I don't know I don't know the name of. There's another softener that I use. I don't know the name of it, but I give it to them once in a while as well. I had issues with them with the chocolate X-Lax. It was terrible. They would have their mouth like this. Mommy, please, no, it tastes awful. I tried to hide it in little beverages. I tried to hide it in chocolate cake. I did all of that. It did not work, and they tasted the difference.
Yeah.
But they're at an age now where they can take the pills, and
Hmm.
so they're able to use the pills now to consume, and it works wonders for them.
Good. Good.
So kudos to X-Lax.
Yeah, for sure.
My next question, um, what are some of the most common digestive issues you find in children?
Right. So we already talked about probably the most common, which is constipation. I think ranked up there highly along with that is reflux, right? So acid reflux affects actually, throughout your life, even though I wouldn't say at one specific time it affects as many people as constipation does, but at least half of people will have reflux at some point in their life one time. And then
Mhm.
obviously, then many people who have repeated episodes. Irritable bowel syndrome is also really common. So 1 in 4 people will have, and a lot of people don't even have a name for it. They just think, oh, I have a sensitive stomach, right? I get up
Mhm.
nervous and I have to go to the, but the official name for that is irritable bowel syndrome. So we see a lot
Mhm.
of that in celiac disease, food allergies causing GI distress. Of course, not common, but something that we see a lot in a subspecialty practice is Crohn's disease and colitis.
Mhm.
A whole host of other things. One thing that we've seen even more of this past 2 years with COVID is something called post-viral gastroparesis, which is after you've
Mhm.
been sick with the virus, you'll get delayed stomach emptying, and so those children will get very severe reflux, sometimes severe constipation, really bad stomach aches, nausea. So there are a lot of different things, and some of them, again, it just fluctuates depending on what's going on in the world at the time.
Wow. Can you explain exactly what happens when a child has celiac disease? What occurs in the stomach, and what are the foods that they should not eat, etc.
So celiac disease is a problem basically where people will develop an autoimmune reaction to eating gluten, which is one of the protein components in wheat products.
Mhm.
Actually, wheat,
Mhm.
barley, rye, and some oat products all contain
Mhm.
gluten. And when they consume those foods, their body basically starts to attack itself, and it creates this reaction where you develop inflammation in the lining of the small intestine. And over time, we have which are little like projections inside of the intestine, and over time those, instead of being nice and kind of long, they'll get shorter and shorter
Mhm.
and shorter and shorter and shorter, and that means that there's less area for food and other nutrients to get absorbed, and so they often, though not
Right.
always, will have loose stool. Especially in children, difficulty gaining weight or growth failure are very common things. And as far as foods, I think the important thing to note is that it's not just food alone. And I think that's a common misconception. It's an entire lifestyle change. So
Mhm.
yes, you have to remove gluten from your diet, but it also has to be removed from shampoo, nail polish, chapstick, sunscreen. You have to change all of your pots and pans, your silverware, your dishes, your
Oh my
toast.
God.
Everything needs to be changed. You cannot wash their dishes with a sponge if there's anybody else in the house that you're washing plates or pots and pans when they're eating regular gluten, because gluten is kind of that glue. If you've ever taken a fork out of the dishwasher and you've
Mhm.
seen little kind of residue on the
Residue. Mhm.
line, that's the gluten, right? So gluten, it persists and it isn't easily removed, which is why it's everywhere. In fact, and another really important thing that people, especially children, is Play-Doh, right? So Play-Doh contains gluten in it, and so if you can
Wow.
get it beneath your nails, most of us touch our face or our lips, and so then
Yes.
they get ingested into the body that way. So it's food, but lifestyle changes as well in order to have complete resolution. And it's so important because if you're not treating it in the right way, your body is still having this overproduction of autoimmune bodies, and it can lead to other immune disorders, right? So you have a higher risk of thyroid problems or type 1 diabetes or even certain types of cancer. So it is a really important thing to be vigilant about.
So what are some telltale signs of someone who may be experiencing an issue like that without coming to you first? So as a mother, what should I look for?
Yeah, I think in general, one of the big hallmarks that we look for is children who have what would be called failure to thrive, right? They're just not gaining weight to the
Mm,
expected rate that we would want to see, or not growing at the expected rate that we would want to see. And then other telltale signs might be really abnormal stools, right? Either going very, very frequently, or in contrast, actually severe constipation can sometimes be found as well. So
mm.
generally, when we see children on either spectrum of the stooling abnormality range, we often will send for a screening celiac panel because it is 1 in 100 people who have celiac, right? It's a very
Yeah.
common.
Wow. I saw this question on the ENCO. We have a group. There's a group on
Okay.
Facebook that is, I can't even, the last time I checked was 6,000, maybe more, international
Okay.
parents. I just can't say mothers, but parents who support each other. Whenever just someone just needs to just come out and say, look, I just need support. I need help. I need just a pat on the back. Or if their son or daughter used the restroom that day, hey guys, my son just said he needed to use the bathroom. He didn't hold it in, and we're supporting and we're rooting and we're cheering each other on. It's a wonderful support group, a wonderful support system. And one of the questions that was on there was, I saw this. What did it say? What is the difference between pushing and straining for kids to get stool out?
Hmm. Yeah. So pushing would be using your abdominal muscles in the appropriate
Mhm.
way. Straining is forcing um, forcing the stool out. I think the bigger difference to me is that a lot of parents get confused and think that their children are trying to go to actually holding, right? And so it's a different maneuver. When we're going to the bathroom, you bear down. When you're trying not to go to the bathroom, it's almost like you can see the stomach come in. And one of the techniques that I often recommend trying to get their children to learn how to go to the bathroom properly is actually to use either balloons or bubbles, right? So when you have right, what happens? You bear down, right? So usually we'll have children sitting on the toilet practicing exercises. So using bubbles on the toilet or using a balloon on the toilet so that they get used to what that feeling ought to feel like without squeeze in a weird way, right? Straining usually they're straining their rectum, right? We using their abdominal muscles.
I lost you at the last couple seconds. You froze for a minute, for a
Okay,
couple seconds.
sorry
So
about that.
something about from the balloon. Start from that balloon part.
From the
Sorry
balloon.
about that.
Okay. No
Yes.
problem. So I usually
Uh-huh.
have use a balloon or bubbles when they're sitting on the toilet because that movement when you blow and but then right blow out, you're actually bearing down. It's the same maneuver that we do when we're going to the bathroom. And it's a nice technique, especially for young children, right? That's non-threatening. It's easy for them to understand, right? And it easily translates. So what we'll usually do is have them sit on the toilet in a proper position, right? So a proper position involves usually having a little step stool, right? So that their feet have place to be sitting so that they're not having their legs dangled, that they're not
Right.
compressing their muscles or their nerves, right? So they have are resting comfortably, and then we'll bring and introduce either a bubble wand or a balloon and have them do those maneuvers. And I usually tell the parents, have them blow bubbles for a couple of seconds, then stop, and then do it again and stop. In the beginning, it's not really whether they go to the bathroom or not. It's just getting them comfortable with this is the maneuver that I would have to do in order to be able to go to the bathroom. And as time goes on, you'll realize a little bit will come out, and that's obviously time to celebrate. And then when they start being able to go, then then, right, then we reinforce it. And generally speaking, I found that that technique works very well for children to learn how to go to the bathroom the right way.
Okay. I I got pieces. You're frozen again,
Oh
but
my
I'm
goodness.
hoping that you can get. There you go. You're back. You're back. It's okay. And this is something that took place last week. My daughter had a stomach ache at school, and the teacher suggested giving her some honey. Now, I've never heard about that. I've never heard about giving honey to a child if they have a stomach ache. What are your thoughts on that? Is that something that is medically proven? Is it it's just a home remedy? Have you heard about that before?
I have not heard about using honey before, but there are some medicinal honeys. There's a honey called Manuka honey, which
Mhm.
is used many places throughout the world for a variety of reasons, and that would potentially be beneficial. Manuka honey is used for sore throats. It's actually used for wound healing. Um, so I
Mhm.
could see why honey might be something that would be beneficial, but it definitely is not something that I generally recommend, at least not for stomach ache.
Okay. Um, with something else, real quick. What are some snacks that you would suggest to give to a child? And this is someone who doesn't have an issue with their digestive system, but just, natural, healthy snacks that kids can use, um, from day to day when they go to school or when they go on to the park or whatever have you. And then what are some snacks that they should not be eating?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, generally speaking, I think the healthier that we feed our bodies, the healthier our bodies are, right? So that goes not just for children, but for adults too, right? We
Just
have to be careful about what we
sound like
indulge.
a robot.
Oh no.
Oh.
Oh my
Let's see if
goodness.
we can get you back.
Tell me if you can hear me.
Then you go, well, no, that's how
Oh,
you sound right now. Let me see if
oh,
I can get you back because you're frozen.
oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna see.
There you go.
I'm back. I do not know what is going on with my internet, so I'm so sorry. Um,
It's okay.
what I was
It's
saying is,
okay.
so
Uh-huh.
generally speaking, the healthier you feed a child, the healthier they are, right? So, carrot sticks, hummus are great things. You know, cherry tomatoes are things that my children like to eat a lot.
Mhm.
Sometimes we'll do, healthy crackers and a little bit of cheese, right, is okay. Healthy peanut butter as well on some crackers or things that oftentimes I'll give my children as well. My kids love yogurts, right? So yogurts are a good source of probiotics. So that's another good thing to do. If I let them have, something that's in a package, I like popcorn, right? So popcorn can be healthy, although
Mhm.
it's not a healthy snack
Mhm.
for everybody. People with Crohn's disease cannot eat popcorn, right? But popcorn for most of us is okay to eat and has low calories, low fat, generally is pretty safe to
Mhm.
consume. Things to avoid is really all that sugary stuff, right? We shouldn't be eating a ton of gummy candies. We shouldn't be eating a ton of Oreos and junk food, right? Those are the things that aren't really the best. Is it okay to eat it once in a while? Sure, right? Life is for living, and I think it's important that we don't completely restrict anything 100% of the time, but that 90% plus that we should be eating healthily. Did you lose me again?
Are you there?
Hello?
Are you there? There you go. There you go.
I took it off
There
Wi-Fi.
you go.
See, maybe if I just use cell signal. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I said I took it off Wi-Fi. I'm thinking maybe something is wrong with my Wi-Fi right now.
Okay, good. So But that's it. Is there anything else that you would want to suggest to parents that are listening right now, regarding, the nutrition, regarding our digestive health care for the kids? And, I didn't know if you spoke about the things that they should not eat, because you started to get started again. But so, some advice on, the healthy foods for our kids and any other thing that you want to add.
Sure. Yes. So things that I try to avoid are really processed foods, right? Things that come in packages tend to have a lot of products and chemicals in it that are not meant to be consumed on a regular basis, right? We often forget that inside of our intestines is this whole little micro world, this micro universe, and we have loads of bacteria that help us digest. And when we feed those bacteria, those chemicals and unhealthy things, and promote diseases, not just digestive diseases, but diseases in all sorts of ways, right? Well, we're talking about obesity, high blood pressure, even stroke risk is related to the foods that we're eating. So it's super, super important to try to aim for healthy over unhealthy the majority of the time. I really try to avoid giving my kids, those things as much as possible. But again, and I don't know if it got cut out before when my Wi-Fi wasn't working, but I do believe that life is for living, right? So I don't ever tell my children, never, ever, never, never can you eat one of those things. But I try to
Right.
make sure that the majority of time they're eating the right thing, so that once in a while, occasional time where we're indulging is okay, right? And then as far as, generally speaking, I think the most important thing that parents have to remember is parents' intuition is a really powerful tool, right? And it's better than probably any medical tool or device out there. So if you believe that there's something not right, the most important thing is to get evaluations done, get it checked out, and find the reason for it. And many times there's a simple explanation, right? But if there's not, then you need to find a specialist so that you can get the care that you need.
How can we find you? How can we find you? And once again, we're not throwing any of the pediatricians under the bus here, but of course, they don't specialize
Right.
in gastroenterology. So we want to be able to, if we can, locate you. You can tell us how to reach you, etc. All of your social media platforms,
Absolutely.
email.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So probably email is the best one. The email is my name, so it would be ALISA dot MUNIZCRIM at nicklaushealth.org. So that's the best. And then the office phone number is 786-624-3400. So those are really our two best kind of methods for reaching out to me. My assistant, her name is Maria, and she's definitely my rock. And she makes sure
She's
I do
awesome.
what I'm supposed to be doing, which is always good to have
Mhm.
that in. So, she's a great point of contact, and her email is maria.bichara at nicklaushealth.org.
Awesome. Thank you so much once again for joining us. I had to get you on because I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to just be placed in a situation where I'm saying, oh, we're going to have a doctor. And then, bam. But we understood what took place. It happens, but once again, we're just happy that you landed safely. And that's what matters.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking up the invitation.
Thank you so much.
And I know that this has been a blessing for lots of women who are listening and for those who will listen even after this, to know what to do, how to take care of their kids' digestive health and the way forward. So I'm glad that you were able to reach out so that persons who may have situations pertaining to their children can actually come to you for consultation and move ahead with their kids' lives. Because speaking with Crystal Maycock and Ivana McKenzie yesterday, they are actually clients of yours. Well, Ivana, and she spoke so highly of the organization. She spoke so highly about the hospital. She spoke highly about the team there, and all that was offered. And the things that were not discovered here were discovered abroad in Miami, Florida. So thank you so much for that as well.
My
And so
pleasure.
that's it. As we wrap up, once again, you have a beautiful day, and God bless you and your family.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Your Lane Life Coaching is once again episode 4, part 2, and is brought to you by Listerine, distributed by Lowe's Wholesale, Airborne Freight and Cargo Services, Calico Bay, where the cool kids shop, Celestial Treats, John's Shoe Store and Accessories, National Workers Cooperative Credit Union, Family Medicine Center, Miniso, Bahamas, and Cloud 10 Summer Camp Program. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. God bless you. Until next week, Sunday.
Thank you.